Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. I'm your host Rob. This video, we're going to continue the March of the King series, and today we're going to do a rewind review of Godzilla vs. MechaGodzilla. Okay guys, welcome back. So we are heading towards the tail end of the Showa series. Godzilla vs. MechaGodzilla is one of the most memorable movies for me. I remember as a kid, it was my favorite movie as a kid. It was always my favorite. I just like the design of MechaGodzilla. It's so cool the way they did it, and even to this day, even with the newer movies and you know, Godzilla against MechaGodzilla, Godzilla vs. MechaGodzilla 2, the original suit is my favorite one. It just, to me, I think it just has more detail. The newer ones look sleek and they're cool looking, but there's just something about that classic one that I just, for the longest time, has just been my favorite. Now, going back and looking at this movie again, obviously, like with every Godzilla movie, you have your cheesy flaws. And I think as fans, as we've grown up over the years, we've learned to accept that. But there were a lot of things in this movie that are very cool, and a lot of other things that just made me start thinking outside of the Godzilla realm completely. Like, for example, MechaGodzilla reminded me of Iron Man. I couldn't stop thinking of Iron Man every time he took off, and he's got his hands like this, and he's flying. And the alien, and I can't remember his name, but the leader, the commander. I mean, here you got an alien who's just straight GQ. He's smoking cigars. He's drinking wine. He's very smooth. He reminds me of the guy from the Dos Equis commercial, and he's just very suave for an alien. You know, the cigar, the wine, the smooth talk. Never got alarmed, just always kept us cool. And then, you know, you got the agent from Interpol. And again, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He kind of reminded me of the James Bond of the movie. You know, and then when you see that scene where Godzilla first meets MechaGodzilla for the first time, all the explosions and all that, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I guess this is where Michael Bay got his inspiration. I mean, this is wrecked. And then Godzilla playing peekaboo outside of the building. Like, it's almost like he was just waiting there like, is he coming? Okay. And I remember as a kid, I didn't even think twice about that kind of stuff. But that does not take away from the coolness of this movie. I mean, even the storyline with the whole prophecy, you know, the red moon sets, the sun rises in the west, the mountain in the you know, in the sky, which is just a bunch of dark clouds. Obviously, the mirage made it look like the sun was rising in the west and all that kind of nature. And then you got King Caesar, who I think, other than this movie and Final Wars, I don't think you've ever seen him. Again, I can't recall if there's any other movies he popped up in, but it's definitely possible. Now, the thing about this movie I thought was cool was just, this was the first movie for me when I was younger that I ever saw Godzilla get his ass handed to him, pretty much for most of the movie. He just, but that's what made it good, because we've seen so many times where he just owns everybody. You know, and I think that's why Godzilla vs. MechaGodzilla and Godzilla vs. Gigan are just two movies that, despite Gigan with its flaws, and it's got a lot with the stock footage and everything, you just saw a side of your favorite monster that you weren't used to seeing, and that's what made it interesting, because you got more into it. You started to actually care, like, wait a minute, and it's not that you don't care before, it's just like you knew he was going to win. And even if you knew he was going to win this time, the fact that it wasn't easy is what made it interesting. But it's just so funny, because I'm watching the movie, and you know, the aliens have this underground base, and every time I saw the base and everything, I couldn't stop thinking of Austin Powers for some reason, like Doctor Evil, because you got the underground base, and then instead of killing his captors, he puts them in a sauna. He's they're sitting there getting. They should have just given them a towel and let them take their clothes off. So, you know, an elaborate long death, and it's just like that. Instead of just killing them, like in the movie when Scott's like, "Why don't you just kill them?" and Doctor Evil's like, you know, why? So, but it was just kind of funny that, you know, I'm just sitting there and I'm watching and I'm thinking about these things. But the thing about this movie that's really cool is, let's just say it, the fighting, the monster battles, the mystical story of the movie. You know, I mean, there were a lot of plot holes. I mean, why did the aliens need a human to finish repairing their creation? And I remember when they had that conversation, when the doctor and the alien commander had the conversation, I rewound it like several times because I'm trying to figure out, why does he need him? And they never really explain that. And that's how some of these movies are. They just don't explain it. You just accept it because you know you're there for the meat and potatoes, you know, not for the green beans. And, you know, and the thing of it is he, you know, he fixes them, obviously fixes the robot to save his daughter and his daughter's friend or whatever. But the aliens themselves, I always kind of, you know, refer to them as apes. That's kind of what they looked like to me, was apes. You know, a knockoff of Planet of the Apes, no big deal. But then I said to myself, well, you know what? They kind of look like a muton from the old 90s XCOM game. And I know some of you guys are young. If there's any of my viewers out there who know what I'm talking about, some of the older crowd who might have played that game back in the 90s. I mean, I know there's a new one now, but they look like the mutons from the 90s game. So if you guys know what I'm talking about, I think they look like mutons from XCOM. For the younger guys, I'm sure if you go on Google and you type in XCOM muton, you'll get a picture of the one from back in the day. They look just like them, just to me at least they do. But so then, you know, now on the flip side of this, you know, first you have MechaGodzilla coming out, dressed up as Godzilla. Now, right away, you know that's not him because of the roar. You know, he doesn't have that classic roar. So I don't know if that's something they did on purpose. They want you to know that it's not him. But either way, he comes, he fights Anguirus, which that wasn't even a match. You know, Anguirus, for such a cool monster and so cool looking, and even his roar is kind of cool in some ways. Some people find it annoying. I think it's good. I think it's a cool roar. He gets his ass kicked every time. This guy doesn't stand a chance against anybody. So, so he gets his jaw ripped open. All right, he starts, I guess, you know, bleeding, but then it later kind of, you know, gets all thick, and I don't know, maybe it was just phlegm or something. Who knows? But he gets his ass handed to him, and then finally Godzilla and MechaGodzilla meet up. Godzilla does his thing, and it takes him a couple of minutes to realize, like, is that me? Like, he looks at him, he kind of tilts to the side, and you know, the suit of Godzilla in this movie, a lot of people don't like. I'm actually a fan of that suit. I can't explain why now. I just think it looks a little bit more refined to some of the other suits. I know it's got the friendly face a lot of people refer to, but I don't know. It's just something about that suit I like. The only thing I don't like about the suit is his dorsal fins. They look all fat, and you know, they look like somebody like pumped them full of air or something. But and a little too much silver. It's like, you know, too much silver. But overall, I like the design of the suit. So they fight it up. Godzilla falls, and that's another thing, the violence in this one. I mean, yes, we saw him bleed in Gigan, but this one, you know, he falls in the water, he's bleeding, and then later on, I mean, that for me, when I remember as a kid, when MechaGodzilla started attacking him, and he's got blood spraying out his neck, and he's bleeding all over the place, man, for me as a kid, that was intense. And even now, I mean, I look back on it, I'm like, wow, that's pretty graphic for a bunch of kids to be watching. I mean, he's got blood spewing out of his neck, and then he makes that incredible comeback, and you see him use a move that you've never seen before, magnetizing everything so he can draw MechaGodzilla to him. King Caesar was a pretty cool character. In the early fight with him and MechaGodzilla, he kind of had the upper hand. Every time MechaGodzilla shot his eyes out, he'd shoot it right back. But obviously, MechaGodzilla was a little bit too strong for him. And then once Godzilla arrived, King Caesar was just really a waste of space. At one point, when MechaGodzilla was bombarding them, it looked like King Caesar was trying to, lean on Godzilla, and Godzilla was like pushing him away. And, and then the whole ripping the head off, and it's just such a good movie because they displayed an enemy that was so powerful with the arsenal of weapons, with the technology, and Godzilla really came on the brink. I mean, he got it good in this movie, but again, he prevailed, and I think those are the movies that I tend to like more. Are the ones where he is really challenged, where he can't just, because movies like, Son of Godzilla, I mean, those little praying mantises have no chance against him. Smog Monster gave him a hard time. Definitely gave him a hard time. Gigan gave him a hard time. Ghidorah, it's funny because Ghidorah is my favorite enemy, but he never really gave Godzilla a hard time. But then again, Godzilla never even fought him solo. So, but this is to me one of the best ones. In terms of action, in terms of originality with the monster robot, the whole monster robot thing was awesome, and just the design of the suit is so epic to me. Like the eyes, the way the mouth is made, the chest, the body, and the missiles on the fingers and the feet, the electric bolt from the chest, the eye beams. I mean, it's just an incredible design, an incredible way for them to make a new enemy. And then furthermore, the flight. He can fly. He has the boosters on his feet. I mean, this thing had everything. So it makes perfect sense that he was given a hard time in reference to Godzilla in this movie. So, but and outside of that, all the little funny plot holes. Why do they need a human to build a robot or repair their machine? The whole Dr. Evil underground lair, the monkey/mutants, the agent from Interpol just always happens to be at the right place at the right time. But you know what? Again, it's definitely one of the better movies. I like the whole mythical prophecy story. I thought that was pretty cool from the plot itself. And it was a classic. It's a classic movie. And that design suit, man, I can't get over that. That is such an awesome design. But anyway, guys, that's it for this review. Definitely one of my all-time favorites. I know I've been saying that almost about every movie, but seriously, this one is like up there in one of my top 5. Definitely one of my top movies. And one of my other favorite ones we're going to be doing next week, which is going to be Terror of MechaGodzilla. Some people consider this the final one in the Showa series. And then 84 was kind of a cross between Showa and Heisei. But, however way you want to look at it, you say tomato, I say tomato. But it's fun to be this far in because the more further we get in, the closer we get to the 2014 release this May. So it should be a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this review. Let me know your thoughts on this movie, and I will see you next video.